Hey guys, Ian Fernando here, and we have another special guest here on the Affiliate Business Conversation. And I've known Ruben for quite some time now, and I've actually enjoyed watching his progress from an affiliate into multiple assets or properties that he's had, and taking his skill set as a marketer and then divulge into multiple things. So today's topic is basically how to become an affiliate and how to reinvest those revenue into other aspects of business. I know for myself, I made the mistakes of flaunting and buying cars. I've had four cars in my life in my career. I've had a house, and then I just basically threw that stuff away because I was like, oh, other affiliates have a car, I'm gonna buy a car too. Another affiliate has a Porsche, I'm gonna buy the 911, right? Somebody has a Lambo, let me get a Ferrari. And I think now as I've gotten older, I, I'm trying to, move my money properly. And this is the reason why the topic of conversation is going to come up. And Ruben has done such a great way what he's been doing with the agency. And more recently, I've seen you do real estate, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know what's crazy, Ian, is that um, uh, growing into the affiliate marketing industry, like you're the guy that I would always study all the time. You know, like you had your blog, you would always update all the time. Where when I discovered this whole entire industry back in 2008, I just became obsessed about it. An affiliate network hired me on as an affiliate manager. I had no idea this industry even existed or anything like that, and just started going the list of like who are the affiliates that were a part of that affiliate network, and started looking like, man, there's these guys that are making like $250,000 a month. And like, I try to talk to them and try to get them to run a link to an affiliate link on this affiliate network. I don't even know what the affiliate link was or anything, but all I knew is like, I got to get them to run this link. And I would talk to them maybe once a month, and we'd send them a $250,000 check like every month. There's like thousands of these affiliates. So when I first got introduced in 2008, like I just became obsessed. I said, who are the big players in this industry? Like, I want to know who they are. I want to become friends with them. And you're the big player in the industry that I saw when I started researching, like, who are the big guys, wickedfire.com and everything
Oh
too.
man,
Like,
Wicked Fire
who are the
days.
guys that are on here and everything. And your name kept on popping up. So I'd always follow all your blog posts and everything. So for us to be here now, 12 years later is like
Yeah, that's
so
crazy,
crazy.
man.
It's so
Time
crazy.
time definitely flies
Yeah.
for sure. Oh
Yeah.
man, you're just giving me memories like Digital Point, Warrior
Yep.
Forum, Wicked Fire. I mean, there's so many places how I've learned, and I appreciate that, man. I mean, I definitely still think I am one of the biggest or one of the
For sure.
oldest, but probably not
Yep.
the biggest affiliate anymore because I've definitely spent my money.
Mhm.
And I know now new affiliates in this day and age that we live in now, people are much smarter with their money.
Oh,
So
for sure.
let's
Yep.
uh, let's talk about you a little bit. You know what I mean? Tell us how you started in the affiliate industry, and let's get into your ad agency because it does being an affiliate does break off into the agency model a little bit because I do sometimes freelance on and off and consult other ad agencies as well. So it does kind of combine with each other in a bit. So let's start there. How did you become an
For
affiliate?
sure.
Why? And let's go there.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. It was back in 2008 I got introduced to this industry. I don't think that anything happens by chance. I always think everything happens for a reason. There's always a reason for everything. So back in 2008, I was doing real estate and mortgages, living on 100% commissions, selling across the kitchen table, face to face. And 2008 happened in the US, which was like the biggest meltdown of mortgages and real estate at that time. So all of my clients dried up, and I had about $300 in my pocket because like you, I was over there spending it on stupid stuff. And the money would come in and it would go out just as quick too. I wasn't saving any of it or investing any of it or anything like that. So I had about $300 in my pocket when the girl I was going out with for about 3 or 4 months tells me that she's pregnant with my son. So I'm like, all right, great. I got a son on the way. I got $300 in my pocket, and I have no idea where this next commission checks is going to come from because we're going through 2008, the biggest recession in US at that time. And I don't even know where my clients are going to come from at this point. So I said, man, I got to go and look for a job. All of my friends always said, like, never sell your time for money, like never get a job, working for yourself for like 4 or 5 years. you kind of hang your hat on that. I said, but man, I got a kid on the way and $300 in my pocket. I need a paycheck quick. So I looked on Craigslist and found this company, which was an affiliate network. I didn't even know what an affiliate network was.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know like affiliate networks posted on Craigslist.
Yeah. Like, and I'm here in Silicon Valley, San Jose, California. So very rarely there's affiliate networks here in San Jose, California, even though it's Silicon Valley, the home of the heart of technology and everything too. So I saw that Craigslist ad of $30,000 salary and commissions to be an affiliate manager. I didn't know what it was. I was like, I just need a paycheck right away. So got into it as an affiliate manager and then started just dialing these affiliates and trying to get them to run these links that I had no idea what the offers were or anything like that. It was, now that I look back at it, it was like Woo Yi Tea, kind of like
I remember pushing that. I know the first reveal actually. First reveal I pushed.
And it's crazy too, because like all of a sudden I started seeing these affiliates that like I would try to talk to them. They're always traveling all the time. They're like, hey, just send me the link. I got to go. I'm hopping on a plane to go to South America right now. Like, just send me the link and I'll implement it. And I was like, man, this guy's always traveling every time I talk to him. And we're sending him like $250,000 checks every month. And there's thousands of these affiliates that are doing it. It's like, man, what is going on here? So I became obsessed. And that's where I was like, just studying everything, researching everything about internet marketing, affiliate marketing. That's when I found Ian Fernando's blog on there of like, man, what is this guy doing? And everything. And just like, I started researching like the Jonathan Volks of the world and everything back in the day of all that stuff. And then Dr. No, Charles No stuff and everything. So I became obsessed about it for years. And then it finally came to the point when like you're either going to learn and implement, or you're just going to be a lifelong learner all the time and not implement anything. So like, man, I'm learning all this stuff, but I got to actually implement it. So I was working that job, you know, making six figures. And then when I would go home from like 6 o'clock until like 9 o'clock, be working on it, put my son to bed. And then from like 9 o'clock on until like 2 o'clock in the morning, work on it some more, and then wake up and do it all over again, like 4 hours. So after doing that for like 2 years, the job I was working at eventually caught on and was like, hey, we know your work is starting to slack and we're going to have to let you go, which is the biggest thing and the best thing that happened to me, because all of a sudden the net just kind of got swiped under me. And I no longer had anything to fall back on. Now I had to go full force into just affiliate marketing and internet marketing and just do it 100%. So once that happened, I was like, all right, I'm going to go all in on this and I'm going to just go and do it. And I started with like $300 in my pocket, but I had all these affiliate friends that I knew already because I became obsessed with the industry, that I made friends with everybody that was in the industry, whether they're affiliates of ours or not. I would still make friends with them, but I also knew the advertisers on the advertiser side too. So all of them became friends as well. So once I left, they said like, hey, where did you go? You were like the one that informed me all the time. And so did my affiliate friends are like, hey, if you're able to put something together, then like, we'll run something for you. So I got started in affiliate marketing like that, of actually doing it myself, just being the broker of like, hey, I'm going to be the broker until I get enough cash flow that I can actually run my own campaigns in doing that.
Yeah.
So I became the broker of like kind of the middleman of, I knew the advertisers, my affiliate friends, we get paid on net 45 from the advertiser. And then I would pay my friends on net 45. So it's just switching money back and forth and just taking a small percentage until eventually building up the cash flow enough and developing out our own technology where we can say, you know what, we can do this all ourselves. So I started investing more into teammates and started bringing on more teammates. And that was a scary thing because we were doing okay already and like making more money than I was making at the job just by myself and with a couple of friends that were also on board with the team. But I was kind of like, why am I going to invest into bringing on more people? It's more responsibility, more liability. And man, I got a son already. That's enough responsibility for me. But like having more people part of the team that I got to take care of, I started getting a little scared in doing that, but eventually overcame that fear and kind of overcame that fear by going to a Tony Robbins event, actually, Unleash the Power of Movement.
I've yet to go to Tony Robbins event. You know what I mean?
Oh.
He's so positive and so, I don't know. I think that's too much positivity for me. You know what I mean? I think it's just way too much. I've had a team and it's definitely is stressful. I've had 3 companies with teams of 15 and more. And I always tend to come back to affiliate marketing just because like, man, I don't want to deal with this. This is so much drama. I left the
Mm-hmm.
work 9 to 5, so I don't have to deal with office drama, you
Yeah.
know. But it was definitely a pain. But go ahead. Sorry for interrupting.
But it's crazy though, is like what that Tony, so I thought the same exact thing about Tony Robbins events. Like, man, this guy's like gets people jumping around and like this positive thing. So the couple of friends that were involved with the company that we started, like I said, you know what, we hit some goals this month. We're going to go take a trip down to LA. LA is maybe like a 45-minute flight from San Jose down to Southern California. We're going to take a trip down to LA and we're going to do this Tony Robbins event for 4 days. None of us knew what to expect, but we walk into the arena, all these people are jumping up and down, all positive, and they were like, oh shoot, what is this? And we're kind of like looking at it a little weird and everything. And then Tony Robbins just comes and like he overcomes every objection. Like he already knows exactly what you're thinking. He already knows like, yeah, you think this is a little weird and all that stuff. And he overcomes all those objections. And after that, I didn't even realize that we were there until like 1:30 in the morning. And then we ended up walking on fire at the end of the night and all this stuff,
So
which is like
that is definitely real, huh?
real, fully real. And that's actually the reason why I say that is because that's the reason why we started growing. Now we're 24 employees strong. When back then it was only two people and me back then. But I made the biggest decision during that time because before he has us walk on fire, he was like, hey, get with a stranger, tell the stranger, and that stranger is going to tell you why they're going to walk on fire. So I got together with this stranger, this lady who I didn't know at that time. And she tells me and she starts crying emotionally saying like, you know, she lost all this weight and she's doing it for her family and like really emotions behind it. And, you know, before I talked to her, I was like, man, if my friends want to leave and like go and have dinner, because we're in LA, we're like, oh, we're going to do like K-Town barbecue and all that stuff too. And we're looking forward to doing that night. I was like, if I look back and they want to go, I'll go along with them. But after this girl told me her story, I was like, shoot, I got to do it now. I got to walk on fire for her. And that's what Tony Robbins goes, okay, that person that told you the story, you're going to walk on fire with them. So we walked on fire together. And that was the biggest lesson that I learned is that, you know, I'll do more for others than I would do for myself. I wouldn't walk on fire for myself and make a change for myself. But when somebody else is involved, I'll do more for them than I'll do for myself, even if it's a stranger I just met like 30 or 40 minutes ago. So I took that into our team and started to reinvest in our team and saying like, instead of putting these profits in my pocket and taking care of myself, how do I get more people involved? Because the more people I get involved, the more I care about them and the more that I want to do more than I would do even for myself. And it's paid off in extreme dividends. Now, obviously you start learning different things of like, okay, when you got a bigger team, you got to start having core values in place because when you're not there, you got to have some core values that they all follow. So like our team has core values of the 4 Ps, which is like positivity, personal growth, personal development, and pulling together, where we all pull in together and we all embody those core values. So I know when I'm not there, if I'm gone for a week or two, I know there's positivity still going on. Like nobody's talking behind people's back, like being negative or anything like that. And if they do, somebody, a part of the team is going to call them out. It's not dependent on me anymore to call them out. And I know like people are working together to say like, hey, if Ruben's not here and he's the bottleneck, how do we make up for that right now? Or if somebody else on the team is not there, how do we make up for that and pull in together? So just learning a lot of the leadership principles like that. At first, in the beginning, there's a whole bunch of, you know, breakthroughs that have to be made when dealing with more people and a bigger team. But once you see kind of the difference that you make in people's lives, where we have one team member who went from being, you know, hugely in debt when we first hired him on to now being completely out of debt, married and the whole entire deal, and seeing him being the most positive person when he started out so negative, just like as an inspiration of, man, how do we touch more people's lives in that way? So now instead of saying like, oh, we're in affiliate marketing or we're in internet marketing or lead generation, now I say we're in leadership development. We develop leaders. How do we develop more leaders to lead themselves, lead in the company, but not only lead themselves and lead in the company, but lead in their lives as well with their family. Like if we can make an impact like that, that's so much better than any kind of wealth that I've experienced. You know, like first buying some of the cool stuff was cool and everything, buying buying the 6-figure watch or buying the car and the whole entire
Oh man,
deal.
I was stuck in those days for sure. And I mean, that's interesting that you say that because that's kind of the goal we have with Affiliate Business Club is because we want to, because I know I'm not a good teacher, right? I'm a better coach, right?
Mm,
It's the reason why I have these live chat rooms, more, I'd rather contribute to something that you've already started than show you a blueprint because the reason why if I do that, I feel like you're not engaging, you're not serious, you're not doing the research enough,
right.
and I'd rather coach you because at least you started the sprint, right? You started
Hmm.
to do some lifting. Then I can show you where you're doing what you're doing wrong. And the funny part is he's saying that because I met somebody probably just a couple weeks ago, and he's all about wealth first,
Mm,
And I told him, like, dude, I'm trying to show him, like, dude, I've been there. Like, wealth is not everything. You know what I mean? Like, I travel all around the world, and I'm so glad I've had experience seeing the poorest of the poor kids being the
hmm,
happiest of the happy. Right? It's
hmm,
so crazy to see that.
hmm.
And
Yeah.
he was just arguing with me like, nah, this is well, you can always have happiness with more money. I'm like, man, I'm like, dude, I totally agree with you. I agree with you, but long term, it's not
Hmm.
helpful for real.
And I
So
think everybody almost has to experience that because I grew up over here where most people say is like the wrong side of the tracks, the east side of San Jose, or like
hold
nobody in my
on,
family ever
real
started
quick.
businesses. Yeah, yeah.
I told the person the same exact thing because he's like a white, super white
Mm.
suburban type of guy and is never seen gritty. Like he thinks like
Yeah.
he thinks down the street where there's potholes is a ghetto. I'm like, what?
Mhm.
No. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand what you're going through. Okay, go ahead with that story.
And it's almost like you have to experience, like living in that environment, or like you got to experience rock bottom before you could really respect the highs of everything. Because even when I started this business and started in affiliate marketing, lost the job, previously got fired, I lived on unemployment for 6 months, but that unemployment runs out, and supporting a kid on unemployment plus having a house and everything too, it's tough. It's not a huge amount of money in the US, and especially in Silicon
Yeah.
Valley, where it's like the second highest cost of living in the United States, which is
I think
crazy.
it costs like $300 just to breathe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Every minute from here. So like going through that, like I went so far down that, like I had to move back in with my parents and everything, which was like the most embarrassing thing to me, and move my son back in with my parents, and went so far down that I went down on food stamps because I couldn't pay for my food. And I didn't want to ask my parents for money. I didn't want them to know like what I was going through. So I went all the way far down on food stamps, and it was the best thing that happened to me because once you hit rock bottom, then you respect some of the highs that you start getting and some of the wins that you get. Like when you respect, you can't really earn $1 million until you learn how to respect a penny. You can't earn, a dollar and really respect a dollar until you really respect how to earn a penny. And once you respect that and respect those levels, then you'll really, garner the $1 million, the millions, the billions, and everything too. But you got to respect that penny first. And if you don't respect it, then life will teach you how to respect it at some
Oh
point.
man, it definitely does. It
Yeah.
truly does. I remember when I was like maybe probably 4 or 3 years in, I was like one of those super cocky affiliates. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'd be in the club and then they'd be like, "Oh, this table's taken." I'm like, "Well, kick him out. Here's another $1,000 to top that table." You know what I mean? So it's like such stupidity, but it was also fun because I was young, obviously.
Yep.
But now it's more of like, okay, Ian, you need to make money. You need to create some assets. You need to figure out what to do.
Mhm.
You need to put some investments. There's no more cars, right? But I still miss that lifestyle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
But I
I
think it's
think
just
too,
different.
you almost have to experience it for yourself once, and then you realize like, okay, you know what, maybe like that guy you were talking about, he just needs to experience it once, and then he experiences that and he's like, all right, Ian was right, like it really, like there is a lot more to everything of life, rather than just building and accumulating wealth. And just even respecting mentors that have been ahead of you, that have already been experience with that, that's like the power of mentorship. Like I have a great mentor that mentors me that's like 10 years ahead of me in business, or maybe even further from there too. But he's already went through the challenges, so I don't have to go through it. Like some people have already sacrificed before you, so that way you don't have to make that sacrifice. You don't have to get hurt. Someone like you can teach people of like, hey, I already went through these challenges that, if you go this direction, these are challenges that I saw when I went that direction. So like you can avoid those by just listening to my experience, so you don't like waste my experience that I've had all from
Yeah,
there.
but I think they're just arrogant people like I was, and people were like, "Hey, Ian, take this your first 100K and put it in the stock market or buy
Right.
Bitcoin or something." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Nah, money's forever. I'm gonna go to the club." And then you realize that money isn't forever, especially in this industry. It's a roller
Mhm.
coaster. Like I've been through two really bad depressions in this industry, and
Yeah.
it just really affected me. But I've learned, I look back, I learn, I look back, right? But there's always a part of me that wants to be like, man, I just want to go party again, or I just want to buy this nice watch for my reward. But now I
Mhm.
give myself goals. Like, okay, Ian, you reach 100K, give yourself 20%, 20K for whatever,
Mhm.
right? And that is either like you buy that one 20K watch, or you put 20K into X something else, or whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think affiliates nowadays are doing, because they're definitely much smarter than I was and several affiliates when I was back in 2002,
Mhm.
2000, yeah, 2002, 4-ish era. You know what I mean? But
I think it's
now
probably
it's
because of like just the environment now, because like people like you and what you're putting out is a lot different than what everybody was putting out back in 2002, 2008 when
oh
I
yeah,
got in and such too. Like what I saw when I got in was like the Ryan Eagles of the world that were like with all the bling and everything all the time, and everybody just had bling. I was like, man, these affiliates are like killing it out here. Like everybody's driving Lambos, everybody's got all the bling and
everybody.
everything. That's all I saw. That's all I saw.
It was crazy because I remember one affiliate was like bragging about his house, and I'm like, wait, this kid just started like 6 months, like 6 or 8 months ago. I'm like, I'm gonna buy a house. I've been in the industry longer than him. I bought a house in cash, and then I'm like, I don't even want a house. Like, what did I buy this house for? You know, I lived in it for like 2 years and then gave it to my parents. I'm like, nah, that was a bad
Yeah.
choice.
And that's the crazy part too, is like, I get my biggest fulfillment now by like giving to my parents or giving to my loved ones and being able to give to like charities and contribute to causes that like really need the help. And just that feeling of writing that check to like something that's going to contribute to either like your family or to, society in some way. It's weird how it works. It comes back to you somehow in some way. It comes back to you. Like the blessings come back to you. The more that you're a blessing to others, the more that you get blessed too, which I didn't understand before. I just thought kind of like, man, this is all my money. I'm not giving it to
Yeah,
anybody or
you
anything like
can't
that.
can't be greedy. That's the thing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I think there's enough money for everybody technically, as the world or karma says. It's just the fact that are you going to be holding onto it and sleep with that bag of money, or are you just going to let it freely go and let the world
Yeah.
distribute it where it needs to be distributed? You know what I
Yep.
mean?
And it's taken
So
me a long time. I'm starting to learn that a lot more now. Like, just don't let it sit in the bank. Because I used to just let the money. I was like, oh man, I'm so excited to see all that money in the bank. But like my mentors have been like, it's kind of the way that you've grown up. You've thought like, put all your money under the mattress and leave it all there. Like a penny saved is a penny earned. Like you got to start putting it to work. Like start investing it, start working with some wealth managers that like know what they're doing. Like you have a business coach, you have a fitness coach, you need a money coach
yeah,
too.
you need money, coach.
And
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that's what everybody needs, is some kind of money coach. Like once you start building a little bit of wealth, that you need a money coach to tell you like what to do with your money and like where to put it and where to go. And just making sure you have a good money coach that isn't, fully incentivized to just give you a whole bunch of life.
And that is the biggest mistake I've made. I've made one mistake, and this is the problem with my personality, is that there's somebody smarter than me, and I'll 100% put that trust in that person right away, because you know what finance more than I am because I will literally spend that money. So I had this, I guess I wouldn't say finance coach, just one of those financial advisor people, right? And they were,
Mm-hmm.
this guy was definitely incentivized to sell me shit, right? These fucking health insurance that compounds every year, or whatever it's called,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And you have to deposit like 30K, 50K a month on it. And I'm like, man, this is a lot of money. And then I'm like, and then I had probably 3 bad months. I'm like, dude, I can't give you this 50K. And he's like, well, this plan technically will terminate if you stop the deposits. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, this is not good. It's not good. And I already had like 430 something already in there. I actually wrote a blog post
Mm-hmm.
about this mistake from my one of the financial advisors I got. And I when I canceled it, I literally only got like 200K back, and I lost the other 200 plus because I terminated within a year or something, when it's a 2 year whole contract or something like that. But
Being,
man, you're right. You definitely have to find a financial advisor that is, you know, it's like an entrepreneur himself or herself,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not incentivized to sell you life insurance plans or whatnot, right? Because those plans are truly shit. Unless you
Yeah.
can really just buy them up front, there's no point of buying them as an affiliate, right? Because
Yep.
that is the biggest mistake I've done, you know.
And
But
a
so
lot of
where
them
can
would.
affiliates find these financial advisors? Because I know I had like
Mhm.
3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough.
I think that's the key is like mentorship and going to somebody that already has like a good amount of wealth and has stacked a good amount of wealth, and then just getting referrals from them. Like all the people that I've known have always come from referrals that I know like these people already are at a pretty high level and much higher level than I am. So whoever they use, I want to use too. So I always get referrals of like, all right, tell me who you use, like who's your wealth manager? How long have you been working with them? Like how many millions have you invested with this person? Oh, okay. Like what's the difference between that one and going to maybe like a JP Morgan or like going to, Merrill Lynch or something? Like what's the difference? Like what's going to be the difference from there? So just being passionately curious and
Yeah, man.
just
See,
ask.
I wish I had that thought process because I'm just like I'm so busy with the media buys. I'm like, here, just tell me what you need and tell me how much money you need for deposit, whatever, and then that's it because I'm busy with this,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you come to that confusion, like, fuck, I really have to. You really have to concentrate a portion of your time to understand that industry so you don't get duped. You know what I mean? But
Right.
how do you manage and also your other business, right? Plus
Hmm.
I was on a trajectory to like hockey stick one of my other companies, and I didn't have time to really do that research or really learn and all that, and that's obviously my mistake, right? But again, it's like, man, I don't want to deal with it. I'd rather just
Hmm.
do my stuff and go from there. And I didn't have the creativity, like, what is the difference between a JP Morgan or whatnot?
Hmm.
If you're maybe 100, probably like 80% out of your business and it's on automated because you have like staff running campaigns or, for you probably brokering offers and all that, then I think it makes more sense. But if you're really day in, day out grind, I think it's very different. I mean, tell
Yeah.
me.
I, I used to be super into the grind previously before too. Like I'm now my grind is in a little bit of a different way. My grind is more of just like leading and coaching our team like pretty much all day long because I've done every single position that's a part of our company. I've done the media buying, like we built up enough cash flow when we're brokering offers and everything like that to where we could just run our own campaigns, build out our own offers and run it all ourselves on our own cash flow rather than using affiliates or anything like that. So once we came to that point, I was running the campaigns myself. I was launching Facebook campaigns myself, managing them and everything. And then eventually our finance manager said, like, who's managing these clients? I said, me. And I said, and she goes, well, who's creating these landing pages? I said, me. And then she goes, well, who's doing the media buying stuff on Facebook? I said, me. And she's like, you got to stop doing this because with you're just doing way too much. We need to bring somebody on. So I took her advice and started looking for an additional media buyer, found a great media buyer. He took over the reins of everything. Then he got overloaded. So we found more media buyers from there and started launching. And now we have over 4 media buyers that are just launching nonstop on that side. And then we have operations people, technology people, and everybody. So I just kept on replacing myself of like what was keeping my time up and what was I becoming the bottleneck of. And I just said, like, how do I take that off of my plate? Because the team needs me to lead and coach them. They need me to give them coaching. So how do I duplicate what I've done onto others rather than just continue to do it over and over and over? So now leading them and coaching them takes up, it's my new grind. Before it was kind of like launching campaigns until 2 o'clock in the morning every night and every day, but I've done it enough where I could duplicate it onto somebody else and figure out systems and processes where we just run the system, we just run the process. Now I coach the team on running the system and running the process, like almost like a football coach. Like I know the play and I've ran that play before and I can tell them where the defense is going to be every time they run that play because I've run that play previously before. So I coach them on how to run that play better and how to run it more efficiently. So then there comes a little bit of an opening where my mentors have pushed me a lot more too and saying like, you're so focused on the business and leading the coach and the people, you got to start thinking too of like, what are you going to do, beyond that personally, being young enough where, like wealth accumulation is on your side and compound interest is on your side right now. Like, don't wait until you're like 50 years old and then all of a sudden start investing in compound interest isn't on your side. Like just start getting your money right and finding a coach. And then now that like my mentors referred me to like good financial coaches, and then I introduced them to the CPA who was also referred to me by another mentor. So now the CPA and the financial coach just work together, and then we just kind of like they'll fill me in on what's going on. I give them my goals of where I want to go, and then they'll keep me updated of like where are we at right now, and then just keep on sending the messages and like, all right, just send me a text message on like where we're at. If there's an emergency and we're taking a big loss, like send me a text message. But if it's not anything crazy, then like, let's just keep on going forward. You're the financial guy, the smarts of it. Just leave it in their hands from there.
Now, like, at what part in your career do you like, man, I need a media buyer? Or do you like, because I'm thinking to myself, man, I kind of need a project manager, right? Or do you need like a director? Like, where should an affiliate start right away if they're scaling? They're like, oh man, I really need to duplicate myself. Is it duplicating myself as a media buyer, or is it duplicating myself as project manager or a director or a CEO?
I think affiliate marketing and just entrepreneurship in general is the best self-improvement personal development program ever invented on earth or on the planet, because you start learning so much about yourself. And I started learning about myself of like where my strong points are and where I wanted to be in the next like 2 or 3 years. I wanted to be the point where I can coach and lead people. My whole goal wasn't exactly to be a media buyer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next 10 or 15 years. My goal was to get to a point where I can coach and lead people and change people's lives for the better by coaching and leading them, whether it's through work or whether it's in their personal lives. So with that goal in mind, I started saying, how do I get there as fast as possible? What's taking up the most of my time? And literally just started writing down from like 9 a.m. until 1 p.m., I'm media buying. And then from 1 p.m. until like 3, I'm coaching people. But then from 3 until like 7, 8, 9 p.m., I'm media buying again. So if I look at my day, like 70 to 80% of my day is media buying, but that's not where I want to be and not my strongest suit. Like my strength is in coaching and leading people, but I'm only doing that maybe like 20% of my day. So how do I get to more of doing the leading and coaching 50% of my day? How can I get people to take over what's taking up 70, 80% of my time? So that's why I was like, okay, let's bring in a media buyer that has a little bit of experience that I can just duplicate on what I've learned. And they're maybe better than me, and they could just scale it up so much better than I would be able to scale it up. So that's where I came to that point. But it came to the realization once our finance manager was like, so who's leading the team? And I'm like, me. But everybody else like that's designing the landing page, no, that's me designing the landing page too. Like I'm working on Saturday nights and I'm working on Sundays too here in the office, which was cool. But it comes to a point where you're kind of like, man, I want to spend time with my family. I want to spend time, with my girlfriend, with my partner. Like I want to spend time with her. Like if I do this and continue to do this for the next 5 years, man, I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life. I'll never get married, and like a partner would never deal with this.
I
So
mean,
like
some
every
affiliates just like to be the underground, lonely person in the basement. I mean, that's. I mean, it's so crazy because the very black sheep of this industry, right? Because
Mhm.
I am super active. I'm an OG. I'm definitely from the streets. Like people just look like, oh, this dude has tattoos or whatever, right? And I'm
Mhm.
like, dude, I'm not gonna beat you up. Don't worry about it. So it's just a very different vibe in this industry. Like you nerds of the nerds are in affiliate because they don't want to be known. It's very hidden. You don't
Yeah,
interact with customers. You don't have to interact with products. You're basically just going through loopholes through every campaign throughout your whole life. And I mean, that's cool, but I mean, I like to talk to people. I enjoy teaching people, right? So I think you understand who you are, like you said,
hmm
but that is definitely a journey in itself because I know for myself that's a huge journey right now. I'm trying to see what I want in like
hmm
10 years. Where am I going to be in 10 years? You know what I mean? Because again, like right now, I'm just putting some money into investment now, and I'm just doing more things as possible to create like more assets and all that, right?
yeah.
So let's get into how you took that revenue stream from affiliate into your ad agency, and then now you're doing real estate, right? How did
Mhm.
that portion of that, I guess, ad agency money or marketing money, since you were a real estate agent prior to affiliate
Mhm.
marketing, did it give you a good backbone to start buying and because you're buying lots and building property on those, right?
So actually, I haven't really got into real estate on that side of like investing into lots and a lot of the properties on that side. That's actually what I'm starting to learn how to do a lot more
Hmm.
now. Where like in my off time, I'm starting to look at like, okay, how does that happen and how do you do that? I'm learning a lot about tax deductions now. Like my goal this quarter was to learn about tax deductions, and learning about tax
On the
deductions,
Puerto
you
Rico.
have a lot of depreciation stuff that how do you pay zero in taxes? I live in California, where the taxes are probably the highest that they can be. Anywhere else in the U.S., it's like the worst for taxes here in California. So it's crazy to see at the end of the year when you get hit with so much taxes. Now I'm learning a lot more about tax deductions, and real estate is one of the best tax deductions that you have because you have the depreciation. And I haven't fully engulfed it enough where I can say like, okay, let's put it into there. So that's why I just use like the financial advisor and the financial coach and saying like, all right, he puts it into investments and he knows where to put it into, whether it's real estate investment trust or whether it's different stocks or different mutual funds and such too. He's handled many of my friends who are very wealthy's money, so he knows exactly what he's doing. So I usually go to him to do a lot of it, but that's the whole entire key. My biggest reinvestment goes back into the business, and I continue
I
to
mean
reinvest.
that should be the number one thing technically because I know here's my mistake again. Yeah, I mean I make the money and I'm like, oh, I can pay myself
Yeah,
this much, and then I'm like, there's still enough money in here, and then you're like, oh wait, I gotta buy product. I have to do media buy. My media buy cost was $250,000 this month, like, and then by the time you pay yourself and you try to scale up again, you're like, why isn't it growing, dude? You literally just paid yourself what you're supposed to go for scaling, right? And
exactly.
these are learning experience, right? Again, being the kid from like the ghetto and not having
hmm
financial literacy did
Yep.
not really pertain, right? So I definitely learned the hard way for sure. And I
Yeah,
think, like you're saying, you need to have that financial mentor or
hmm
advisor, right, to help you along
hmm
the journey.
Yeah, we come from like very similar places too, because I grew up on the east side of San Jose, where most people would say is like the wrong side of the tracks. Like nobody in my family's ever started businesses or like ever thought about doing anything like this whatsoever. My high school was so bad that they had a daycare center on the high school campus because all the kids were having kids and getting pregnant. Majority of the kids were having kids, so it's like I thought that was normal until like I started talking with some of my friends that lived on the other side of the town, and they're like, "You grew up in a high school that had a daycare center?" They're like, "You guys didn't have a daycare
Yeah,
center? Like, it's not regular
yeah,
to have
that's not
kids at
right.
16? That's not regular."
Yeah.
Like, no, I was like, oh man, wow, like some of the stuff that I saw growing up was crazy. I was skateboarding growing up. So being in the neighborhood skateboarding, I saw some crazy stuff happening during that time. So there was no financial literacy really, like money was never talked about in our household, and
Yeah.
never really saw crazy things like an exotic car or anything like that. Like that wasn't fathomed in our mind of having any of that
and
stuff,
and, and for
building
us
wealth.
it was more of like a dream, right? And that's the reason why
Mhm.
when I made money I was like, dude, the stuff that I want I can get now, right? And that's the reason
Mhm.
why I had like the 20K watch, right? And the
Yep.
50K watch, and I had like the Ferrari and the Porsche and Lexus and Mercedes,
Mhm.
right? And then it's just like now I just want to travel. Like I really just
Right.
enjoy traveling. That's the very simplest part of traveling. Just having
Mhm.
a carry on and just picking up and go. I mean, that's what I enjoy truly, truly now.
And that's what my mentor told me too. He goes, at some point, because in the beginning, just like you, I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy that AP watch, oh, I'll buy another one because I got to reward myself for the goal that I hit. And it's great to reward yourself because you got to tell your brain all that work you put in this month for that goal to reach that goal, like it's good. So your brain will go to work to continue to do more. But then now it's more of like, okay, got the watch, got the car, and all that stuff. Now my mentor is like, you know what life is about experiences. And he's about 20 years older than me. He's like, I've been through all of that stuff, and life is all about experiences. So like go and take a trip, have an amazing experience on that trip. Like, go to Cabo and like get a villa, just have an amazing experience there, because that's what you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Like that watch is like cool and everything, but it gets old. Like you only buy bigger watches and everything, but you're going to still get the same exact feeling, but like the experience is going to last forever. If you go and have an experience and go take an experience in traveling, that's what's really going to last forever. So that's been a big transition
Yeah.
of like
A
valuing
lot of people
experiences.
don't. A lot of people actually do not like experiences. A lot of people truly live in fear of like
Mhm.
the outside world, and it saddens me to see that. Like you have all this money, but you're really scared to spend it, or you're really
Yep.
scared to just go out of your comfort zone because you'll lose your money. And then I'm like, damn, you're putting my money over everything.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, man, that's just that baffles me so bad, right? But I mean, I get it, right?
Yep.
I was there too, but then for me, it was just luckily my dad traveled, and then I growing up, I've seen his photo albums where he's been to Egypt, he's been all
Hmm.
over Europe, and that's just an inspiration, to just travel. Even my brother and my sister, they've traveled as well, pretty well versed as well as I am. I mean, certain countries my sister's been through that I haven't been, like Australia, and same
Wow.
with my brother, right? But I probably traveled. I've been to more countries than they have for sure, since I do like jumping around more so than anything. But
So
I
that's
mean,
probably like what led you into affiliate marketing and just having like that independence where like, man, I could just travel anywhere and
yeah,
all the
man,
time.
it
I
really
just have
was.
to do it.
My first trip was literally to Panama, and I was like,
Mm.
man, this is awesome. I can do this. Then my first solo trip was to Morocco. Uh, that was my first over the Atlantic. You know what I mean? And that was definitely fun. And then after that, I was like, man, I gotta keep traveling. I just want to see new experiences, taste new foods, meet new people. But that's my personality, right? Whereas I know a lot of affiliates, they don't have that. I know a lot of entrepreneurs that
Mhm.
I meet, they're not like that. And this is why sometimes it's very hard for me to really catch up and talk with other entrepreneurs because they don't understand my values, right? They're very stuck
Mhm.
on their own values. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this stuff. We don't match. We don't even match in conversation, you know?
Right.
So
Yep. Yep.
it doesn't matter. Like keep your tight circles close with rich people, but then those rich people have to match my energy, my vibe. And it's very difficult for me to switch, right? Because then I feel like, oh man, I'm gonna be a little fake here, and I kind of don't want to.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's you argue with yourself a lot, right? So
That's so key too, because like just because people have money or they're like wealthy doesn't exactly mean that they're like got good values either. Like some people that like I've seen, I was like, man, this guy's really at the top and he's like there at a certain level. I'm like, man, that's the level I want to get to. And I started getting to know them a little bit more. And I realized like, man, their family life really isn't in order. They've got all these enemies. They've got all these people that are after them. They always have problems all the time chasing them. Like, that's not really a life that I want to live. And our associations are everything. And when we associate with people that have a lot of those challenges in their life, eventually it starts creeping into our own life too. And like it starts getting to that point where you almost want to be a hermit sometimes. You're like, man, there's a lot of challenges
No,
out there. Like, I'm gonna stay in my cave, like I'm good. I'm gonna not leave my doorstep. I'm gonna
yeah.
stay here.
No, dude, I
Sometimes.
agree. Because sometimes, like, I'm lucky to meet a lot of people in this industry, and I'm very grateful that I can pick and choose. Like, especially if I go to the Philippines, I go to Thailand, I go to South America, I can just hit up a group, and there's people that I want to chill with, right? There's people that are
Yeah.
just are just acquaintances, and I don't mind that, right? But day to day, if I'm living in Colombia, day to day, I'd rather talk to these set of affiliates or
Mhm.
entrepreneurs than these where they're just a weekend chill crew. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's,
Yep.
it's very, very different. And I think for the traditional affiliate or entrepreneur in itself, you need I don't know, like a groupie to keep you secure to like,
Mhm.
hey, Ian, did you finish that campaign? Are you on point with, you know, and then not a person of like, man, forget about that campaign. Let's go out this weekend. You need a
Yeah,
support wall
exactly.
sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yeah. Like, we all need that personal accountability where like we
yeah,
got
yeah,
somebody that we can be accountable to of like, oh shoot, yeah, let me get me on track. Like, hey, I'm starting to lose my focus a little bit more too. That's what I love about this industry, because that's what really made me fall in love with it. I was born an introvert, so I would rather just kind of be behind a computer all day long and not really like talk to anybody face to face. But like doing real estate and mortgages back in the day before finding affiliate marketing, it taught me how to talk to people a little bit more and getting me out of my shell. But like naturally, I'm still an introvert where I kind of just want to like be behind the computer and not really talk to anybody. But then traveling a little bit more has like opened me up where I'm kind of like, hey, there's some cool people to meet out there. You know, everybody's got a story and I love learning their stories, and everybody's got a unique story that like I just want to sit there and learn more of those stories. And it makes me respect my life even more when I get to experience in some of these countries of like going to Mexico, even in like Cabo, going out at like 1 o'clock in the morning and seeing this little like 4-year-old kid trying to sell me gum at 4 years old. I'm like,
yeah.
man, they got the like I can only imagine my son at 4 years old out at 1 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday night trying to sell tourist
You're
gum. It
probably
like
gonna
made
be
me
scared.
respect it made me
Yeah,
respect the hustle like so much more. Like, man, I'm so grateful for everything that I have. And I think that's what traveling really does is like you
it
see
does.
how people live around the world and you realize how much more grateful you are for your life and for everything
Yeah.
that you have.
I was talking to another buddy of mine out here in Puerto Rico, and he traveled between here and Colombia. And then I was telling him, man, I love Colombia. And then I told him, like, man, the best part about Colombia is just running into these little alleys and getting lost. And he's like, man, you should be
Mm.
careful. You could get robbed. And I'm like, man, I'm so confident. My chest is all out. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I've been through the ghetto already. I'm good. This is
Yeah.
home for me. You know, and he's like, man, he's like, yo, there's really good places in Colombia that are nice that you can still enjoy them. But I'm like, man, you don't understand. You can get an amazing gritty experience by just
Hmm.
talking to the local person having a beer on the
Yeah.
stoop, right? Instead of
Yep.
going to a nice bar in a nice area in Colombia, which is both really good. But him telling him a story about something, something, something is so entertaining, I think,
Yeah.
right? And I
And
think
I
a
think
lot
it's
of
your
people
vibe
don't
too.
understand that, right?
Yeah, like you're like people can feed off your vibe too. Like if you're walking down that alley and you're like kind of like looking around like scared, like people are gonna feel that vibe and they're like, hey, that guy's a little suspicious. Like something like we should go check him
Oh
or
yeah,
something. But if you're walking around just confident, just regular, like, hey, this is cool. I'm really respecting the place that I'm in and the environment.
yeah,
And it just does so much more for you. And like you keep away those bad vibes. And especially when you could just relate to everybody. That's why like I respect so much the way that, and I'm so grateful the way that I grew up because I feel like I could relate to everybody a part of the spectrum from like the person that grew up like how I grew up, or the person that is like in the wealthy neighborhoods that grew up with everything and all that. Like I feel like I can relate to all of them because of the way that I grew up, especially being here in the Bay Area. We're so diverse. We have everything here in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley. It's crazy. When I go to other parts of the world, I really realize how diversified we are here in Silicon
yeah.
Valley compared
No,
to
dude,
other
and
parts
it's
of the world.
crazy. And people think America is broken. I'm like, The only reason why it's broken is because we're so diversified, right?
Yeah.
You go to Thailand, everybody's Thai. Everybody knows their
Yeah.
culture. Everybody knows how to treat, the trans women and
Yep.
stuff. There's expectations, right? You go to the
Yep.
Philippines, same thing. You go to, but people are like, "Oh, America's the greatest." I'm like, we are, but you guys are making it shit right now. You know what I mean? But and
Exactly.
that's another topic for to discuss. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, we can't control what other people do. The only thing we can control is our reaction to it and what we do specifically ourselves. And I think a lot of people have challenges with that. I had challenges with that previously
I mean, I'm
before.
still having challenges with that right now. Like I was saying earlier,
Mhm.
like affiliate marketing for me is a roller coaster, right? Money in, money
Mhm.
out. I literally can lose like 100K tomorrow and like, and not
Yeah.
do work for like a month because I'm so depressed, right?
Yep.
But you just
Yep.
have to kick yourself up, and I think that's the nature of this industry that I signed up for. And I
Mhm.
think people affiliates need to understand that. I mean, you just really have to push yourself, and having a mentor,
Mhm.
having the right people around you,
Yep.
from media buying team or a project manager or a financial advisor or several mentors, right, are important. Because you need that accountability, somebody to push you, somebody to basically push you against the wall and be like, "What are you gonna do now?" Right?
That's right.
And that's the thing that's needed, right? A lot of people saying
And
stuff is easy, but it isn't. You know?
No, and I think that's where like a lot of your core values really come out, like your personal core values of what you stand for, because there's the ups and downs all the time. No matter how great somebody is or how great somebody's doing, there's always the ups and downs to deal with. But if you got your core values in place, like you know very well that things are going to be better tomorrow, like things are going to be better the next day. Like maybe I took the L today, but tomorrow is a new day and I'm starting it completely fresh. Or maybe I'm on a winning streak and tomorrow's a new day to get that winning streak to another level. So like every day is a new day when you have those core values in place of what you stand for. It really can bring you to your knees to the point where you're like, all right, I got to have like some strong faith that things are going to be way better than they are right now, because they always will be. It's just about having that positive mental attitude all the time and
Yeah.
making sure you stay positive
The thing
at
is,
all.
mental attitude is very, very hard to control. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it took me a long time to really turn that shit on and off. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because there are days like I remember my first loss as an affiliate. I was like, man, was me quitting my job a mistake, or would I be an affiliate just by luck, right? And then I was questioning myself, my abilities, and all this stuff. And then I was like, nah, 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 nah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want a job. I don't want to work. I don't want to work. I don't want to work. And that just kept me up, kept me up. And then obviously I have like my Asian parent telling me that, nah, you need to go get a
Yeah.
job. Like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting a job. You know? So that was my motivation.
Yeah, and I think Steve Jobs said it best too, where he said something along the lines of like, you can never see the path by looking forward. You could always see the path by connecting the dots that were behind you. So basically, like you start looking at how your path has really led you to where you're at, and it's going to lead you to where you're going. You start looking at like, man, the way that I grew up, actually that all happened for me. Nothing happened to me. I used to think in like the victim attitude, where it's like my attitude was, man, I'm such a victim. Like, how come I grew up in this neighborhood? Like, how come I didn't grow up with like parents like that one? They have it so easy, and like, it wasn't so hard for them. Like, why did I have to
Comparison
grow up like
sucks.
this?
You know?
Right, right. And it's like playing the victim all the time. Then I started realizing, like, shoot, all this stuff happened for me. I'm so glad that I grew up like that. Like it all happened in that path for me. Like I'm so glad the girl that I knew for 3 or 4 months had my son, because when I was building my business, I looked to him of like, man, I would never have discovered affiliate marketing if he weren't born. If I wouldn't have met that girl that didn't work out, like, and he wasn't born, I would never have discovered affiliate marketing, and I wouldn't have this business that we have today if he weren't born. So every time I look at him, I'm like, man, even when I was on food stamps, I would look at him and make, man, this kid was born for a reason to point me in this direction. Even when I was getting job offers and everything, and I could have used those jobs, like they were going to pay me 6 figures. And I was over here on food stamps with my son, live with my parents. Like I really could use that job right now. But I looked at him, I'm like, man, this kid was born for a reason to point me in this
That's
direction. And when you look back at like some of the stuff that has happened at that time when he was born, I was like, shoot, I don't even know how to be a dad. I got $300 in my pocket. Like, what the heck am I going to do? And now I look
yeah.
back at him, and every time I look at my son, I'm like, man, I can't believe it. You're an absolute blessing in my life. And maybe he won't understand till he gets older. He's 12 years old now. Maybe he won't understand till he gets older, but man,
Oh damn! I thought you were gonna be like, "Hey, why is your campaigns down, buddy? Why you down $100? You're
We're
not
gonna
my
put him to work.
son."
He's next.
Yeah,
We're putting him to work next.
exactly. You know what I mean? Well, we're coming up soon on our podcast here, but we had a really good conversation, Ruben.
For sure.
That's like some really good storytelling. I'm glad that we were able to connect again. I mean, I didn't even know we had all this comparison together on all
Yeah.
this stuff. So it's been a long time since we last chatted. So
Yeah.
but
Dude, and I'm so grateful for you. You're that inspiration back in 2008. And what's crazy too is I said, you know what? When I got into 2008 and became obsessed about this industry and saw this industry for the first time, I said, you know, I don't know who these guys are, but I want to know them. But I don't want to just know them, but I want to be friends with them. And it's crazy to see where we are now, that we're friends now. And at that time, you were just the guy that was blogging, and I saw on Wicked Fire all the time. I was like, man, I got to be friends with this guy. And dude, look at us now.
I got picked on. I got picked on a Wicked Fire multiple times. I had several memes made out of me, you know.
But you get attention. Like, if people know you, there's those like bedroom affiliates that nobody knows because like they wanted to hide. They didn't really like want to comment on anything. They don't want to throw themselves out there. So like those actually help you get a lot more attention where more people even know you. So it's like either you know me or you don't know me, but like now you're gonna know me. You know me or you hate me, but either way you still know me.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I remember having the first meetup from Wicked Fire with a couple of Wicked Fire guys, and they were just testing my skills. I don't know if you know Ad Hustler, Brandon. This guy, we first met, and he's like questioning me about Google PPC, and he's like, I don't know if he was questioning me just to prove if I know what I was talking about, because you know you meet some of these affiliates that they talk a lot of shit, and you're like in your head like, oh man, that math doesn't work. You're just making that shit up. Right. Yep. And I think he was testing my skill, and he's like, oh, okay, you're legit. I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm legit,
Earn that respect.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was a good conversation, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for staying on this podcast. And for everybody out there, thank you for listening in. Hopefully there was a lot of lessons learned here. I know I've taken a lot from this conversation for sure. Just reminiscing on the past, basically segmenting myself, where I'm at now specifically, because it does help that your past is your path to success, right? That makes sense, right? And Ruben, thank you again for really bringing that positivity and the energy and speaking the truth out here. So, and again, guys, appreciate it. And thanks for listening in, guys. We'll talk soon.